Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Easy English Bible Study Podcast. My name is David Gray, and together we're going to study the Bible, and I will make comments in easy to understand English. Okay, let's get started. Hi again. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Well, today we're looking at the Bible from the Gospel of John for the fifth Sunday in Lent. The fifth Sunday in Lent, number 5. Okay, the Gospel of John, chapter 11, verses 1 to 53. Chapter 11, verses 1 to 53. This is about the death of Lazarus. Verse 1. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. Okay, so this is not the Mary, mother of Jesus. This is a different Mary. She's the one who wiped Jesus' feet with her hair. And Mary's sister's name is Martha, and the brother's name is Lazarus. So, verse 3, so the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. Here, it's not like a little sick. I guess it means he's very sick. He might die. They sent word means they had somebody go to Jesus and send the message that Lazarus was sick. Verse 4, when he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Okay, just like in the previous episode, the man who was born blind was healed for God's glory, to show how wonderful God is. Verse 5, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Oh, that's a nice Bible verse, eh? Verse 6, so when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. So Jesus did not go back right away. It's a bit strange, right? He waited 2 more days. Verse 8, but Rabbi, they said, a short while ago, the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going back? So they tried to kill Jesus in that area where Lazarus is in Judea. So it's very dangerous for Jesus to go back. They tried to stone him. They tried to kill him by throwing stones at him, rocks. Verse 9, Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. What is Jesus saying here? We know that Jesus talks a lot about light and darkness in the Gospel of John. I'm thinking that Jesus is talking about the fact that he is walking in the light of God's will. He is doing what God the Father wants him to do. And so he will be okay because he needs to do this and it's God's will. And so he's not worried about being hurt in Judea. Okay, verse 11. After he had said this, he went on to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up." His disciples replied, "Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better." Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. Okay, so Jesus is talking about sleep, meaning when he talks about Lazarus sleeping, he means that Lazarus is dying. So when Jesus says he will wake him up, he will wake up Lazarus, it means what? What do you think? Verse 14. So then he told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Jesus is glad he was not there. Jesus had, if he was there, he could have healed him, right? But he's glad he wasn't there so that the disciples will believe in Jesus. This is interesting. Verse 16. Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." So he's ready to die for Jesus. Judea is a dangerous place to go back to. Here, Thomas is being very brave, but he doesn't really understand what Jesus is saying, I think. Verse 17. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. So when Jesus was arriving to the town of Bethany, he's finding out that Lazarus had been dead already for 4 days. His body was in the tomb for 4 days. Verse 18. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. So Jesus hasn't come to their house yet, but Martha is going out to Jesus before he arrives at their home. And it's interesting, there are many visitors from Jerusalem. Verse 21, "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." That's difficult English. Let's say it again. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. So if Jesus had come earlier, if Jesus had come, did not wait, but came right away, came immediately, if he had done that, Jesus could have healed. Jesus could have healed Lazarus before he died, she's saying. But I know now, I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. She seems to be saying, I know that you can help him live again. It seems to be making a kind of a hint at that. I'm not sure. Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." So she believes that Lazarus will rise again, will be alive again at at the end of time, when everyone is resurrected. Resurrection means to be alive again. You were dead, and now you are brought to life again. But Jesus is not talking about later. Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die." Do you believe this? So Jesus doesn't say, "I can do a resurrection." He says, "I am the resurrection." This is called an "I am" statement. Jesus makes many "I am" statements in the Gospel of John. Jesus says, "I am the gate." He says, "I am the bread of life." He says, "I am the good shepherd," and more. So Jesus is the source. Jesus is the source of life. I am the resurrection and the life. So he answered, he says, "Do you believe this?" And Martha in verse 27 says, "Yes, Lord," she replied, "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." Wow, that's a great statement by Martha. Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. Okay, so she understands that Jesus is the Messiah, but does she understand that Jesus is the resurrection? Let's see. Verse 28. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and is asking for you." So when you call someone aside, it means that there's you want to talk to someone, but that person is with many other people. So you ask them, "Come here for a second. I want to talk to you privately. I want to talk to you privately. The teacher's here, and he's asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. So the other Jewish people, everybody's Jewish in this story: Mary, Martha, Jesus, and the other Jewish friends who came to comfort, to help her feel better. They saw her get up quickly, so they thought she's going to mourn. She's going to the tomb. She's going to the place where Lazarus' body is. They thought that's where she's going, so they went with her. Verse 32. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Okay, so this is like what Martha said, right? If you had been here, if you had come earlier and been here, you could have healed my brother when he was sick, and he would not have died, right? He would be still alive. Verse 33, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. So their feelings affected his feelings. They were sad, so then he felt very, very sad too. He was moved, his spirit, and felt very troubled. Verse 34, where have you laid him? He asked. So where is his body? Come and see, Lord, they replied. Verse 35, Jesus wept. So Jesus cried. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him? Verse 37, but some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Why didn't he heal him? He healed the blind man. He could have healed this man before he died. So many people doubted him, had negative feelings about Jesus. Okay, verse 38. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. Okay, so his feelings are deeply moved. He came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days. Verse 40. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So it seems like Martha didn't understand yet that Jesus is the resurrection. Not yet. Verse 41. So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. So Jesus is talking to the Father. He wants the people there to hear him talking to God the Father. He wants them to know that the Father sent him. Verse 43, when he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. Verse 45, therefore many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary had seen what Jesus did believed in him. So all these visitors from Jerusalem, they saw this miracle and they believed. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. So now some of them believed and were excited and believed in Jesus. And some of them were upset by this and told the religious leaders, the Pharisees. What are we accomplishing? They asked. Here is this man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Wow. So they're worried about losing power. They're worried that many people will follow Jesus, that they will lose their power as leaders, that they will lose their temple and their nation to the Romans. The Romans will take it away. Verse 49. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish. What does that mean, and why is he saying that? Verse 51. He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation. And not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. From that day on, from that day onward, from that time, they planned to find a way to take his life, to kill him. They were so upset by this, they decided we have to plan to kill Jesus. So Caiaphas is the high priest, and that means he has the highest position. And here the Bible is saying that he prophesied that Jesus will die for the Jewish nation, that Jesus will die for them, and not only them, but the scattered children of God, the children of God everywhere. This is all about Lazarus dying and Jesus waiting, not coming to heal him when he's sick, and waiting. And then when Lazarus died, he raises him from the dead. I'm sure those many friends that came from Jerusalem went back to Jerusalem and told many people what happened. The news must have spread to many, many people. Also, this would help the faith of the disciples and of Lazarus, Mary, and Martha, who he loved. How many times have we said to God, if you had done this, then that? Like they said to Jesus, if you had come earlier, then he would not have died, right? How many times do we question what God is doing and basically say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And Jesus had a greater reason. Jesus had a plan to raise Lazarus from the dead. I find it really strange that after Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, that these people, these Pharisees, these religious leaders in verse 53 said, so from that day on, they plotted to take his life. that is really scary. They see that Jesus raised, or they hear about that Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, and they don't believe in him. Instead, they want him to die. How can we do that? I guess we have to be careful as people not to be so stuck, not to be so strong about something that we want to fight it. Sometimes we have to be careful because we can be very, very stubborn, very strong in our feelings, and not listen to God, like these Pharisees who did not listen to Jesus, even though Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Okay, well, that's the end of today's reading. It was a long reading and a long podcast. I hope that it was good for you. I really like the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead, and about Mary and Martha too. It's a wonderful miracle, and it comes before Jesus being raised from the dead, from the cross. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care, and God bless you.